Hello, everybody. My today's topic is bird migration. The second part of it. Today, we started it. I started it in my last lecture, and today I'm going to do the second part of my lecture. I am Dr. Preeti Mathur, Associate Professor, Department of Zoology, SPC, Government College Ajmer. Hello, everybody. My today's topic is bird migration. The second part of it. Today, we started it. I started it in my last lecture, and today I'm going to do the second part of my lecture. I am Dr. Preeti Mathur, Associate Professor, Department of Zoology, SPC, Government College Ajmer. Now, when and how do birds migrate? We know millions of migratory birds move from a warm winter range to a summer breeding range each year. Some are so predictable that their arrival in the summer range can be forecast almost to the day. We know when to expect them for long experience. But how do birds know when it's time to migrate? This is a very important question that generally occurs in our mind. Now, what are circannual rhythm and daylight trigger migration? Before a bird can migrate, it must be physically ready. In both spring and fall, birds put on weight, storing fat in the body cavity and beneath the skin. Many molt, replacing flight feathers so that their feathers are in peak condition for extended flight, and they build flight muscles for strength and endurance. These changes are brought on by a combination of the bird's circannual rhythm. It is a natural annual cycle and the shift in the hours of daylight that signals a change of season. In general, shortening days affect hormone levels and induce birds to eat more, store more fat, increase muscle mass, and molt. Later, when these physical changes have taken place, hormones also cause restlessness immediately prior to departure. The relationship between light and the circannual rhythm is complex. Birds in captivity can be induced to go through their annual changes more quickly if light levels are manipulated. Yet the rhythm still proceeds if light levels in captivity never change. Birds migrate north from the southern hemisphere, where days are getting shorter, from equatorial regions where the hours of daylight and darkness change very little, and from Central America and the southern United States where days are growing longer. Similarly, birds that migrate south to breed may begin their journeys in places where the days are getting shorter or longer, depending on where they spend the winter. Weather influences bird migration. Birds respond to weather conditions as well as light when deciding when to depart a summer or winter range. An early spring with unusually warm temperatures can trigger early departure and early breeding. Likewise, extended bad weather or a cool spring can delay things. Birds generally wait for good weather with favorable winds. They avoid rain, overcast conditions, and winds that might blow them off course. As a result, good weather triggers a wave of departures with large groups of birds leaving at the same time and arriving at a stopover or destination together. Most will stop to feed or wait out bad weather before moving on with another wave of migrants. Climate and location also heavily influence fall migration for birds in the higher latitudes. These birds arrive later, breed later, molt later, and leave later than the rest of the population. Males go first. The main thing is males go first. For some species, it's important for males to get a head start in spring in order to claim good territory in the breeding range and be ready to attract good mates when females arrive. Departing males can either delay migration of the rest if they encounter bad conditions and return, or trigger an exodus if they leave and don't come back. Birds tend to commence migration in large numbers only when they have a favorable tailwind. In North America, the winds north in spring and south in autumn are ideal to assist seasonal migrations. Once started, however, only very bad weather will stop them. Many birds fly high when migrating because of prevailing winds at higher altitudes and also because the cold at these altitudes helps them disperse all the heat being generated by their flight muscles. Not all birds from a summer breeding site overwinter at the same area. What happens? Come autumn, if a male bird meets a female bird in the breeding grounds who has a different overwintering site, whose side do they go to? Now they are a pair. In many species, the pair bond breaks up at the end of the breeding season, but some, like swans, mate for life. In the case of the Bewick swan, the male decides where to fly to for the winter and the female follows him. However, the female decides when it is time to travel back to the tundra for another year's breeding. The reverse scenario is when birds with different breeding sites overwinter in the same area. If pairing commences on the overwintering ground, whose breeding ground do they return to? The answer may be different for different species. Now, viewers, migratory routes are not fixed eternally, and in some species, part of the population follows one route and part another. Also, some birds travel south by a different route to that which they use to travel north. For example, golden plover. Some migrants fly very long distances. Some Arctic terns fly 11,000 miles each way. Other birds fly lesser distances. Blackpolls for Hudson Bay overwinter in the Venezuela 5,000 miles each way, and golden plovers fly 2,400 miles each way in the USA. Now, speed. Birds often fly faster when on a migratory flight than they do during ordinary flight. Thus, distances of 200 to 400 miles a day are commonplace among long distance migrants. Some birds, however, migrate more slowly. For example, robins coming up the Gulf Coast average 13 miles a day. Most flights occur at between 600 and 5,000 feet above sea level within an average height of 1,525 feet. However, mountains may mean greater heights are needed and heights over 10,000 feet are not uncommon.
In the next lecture.
Now here there is a golden plover bird shown. Clearly you can see. And now we will continue in our next part of our lecture that how do birds migrate such long distances? How do migrating birds find their way? And threats to migrating birds. These are very important three topics which we will cover tomorrow. Now I thank you here. My name is Dr. Preeti Mathur, Associate Professor, Department of Zoology, SPC, Government College Ajmer. Okay, thank you.